All right, guys, back on Southeastern 16 with Max Barr, recapping review of the Tennessee victory on the road against Texas A&M, 77-69. The Vols pick up a nice road win in College Station. And Max, I feel like we haven't done one of these in a while. It's been a whole 48 hours. I don't know. Remember the last time we have not actually recorded something in a span of 48 hours. So good to see the stash is still doing well. And Mark's excited to jump on in here. Tennessee fans excited. Greg's excited that both Max and I picked the Aggies. We gave Tennessee a little bit of boost here. We knew what we were doing. We had something on the agenda there. But yes, a nice road win for the Vols. And, we came into this, and I thought this was a really good game because we came into talking about, hey, one of those games, I know, two great defenses. We said we'd be stunned if it got into the 70s. Well, we should have known there were going to be some free throws that would get us to that mark, which we did. Ultimately, Tennessee goes 18-20 from the line. Guess what? Texas A&M went 18-20 from the line. Two teams shooting identical from the free throw line. But, I thought this was a very well-played game. I thought there were some big shots, obviously, on both sides. None bigger than, I don't know how many of those that Chaz Lanier hit. He goes for 30 points here. But the biggest one of all was Zakai Zeigler there at the end to clinch it, Max, for the Vols.
I believe that's a career high for Lanier, right?
It is. 29. Well, no, I think he had 35 last year, but I think he had 29. 29 this year was his high, I'm pretty sure. I'll get a check on that. But yeah.
I think 8 threes is his highest, though. I don't think.
Yeah, no, I think you're right about that. Yeah.
So, hey, and TaylorMade, I agree with you right here. High-level game, and earlier, best game I've seen this year. We made our jokes going into it, knowingly. Hey, two of the grittier teams, two of the rougher teams lean on their defense. The offense can be a little bit lacking at some points for A&M. The perimeter offense was non-existent today. Big credit to Tennessee's defense. But, man, I was expecting a little bit more choppy, a little bit rougher, more reviews. But overall, before we even get into the matchup, great game. Really, really impressed with that game. I liked it
like we're
all
shocked.
The way. Yeah.
It's like we're surprised because, again, you've seen these teams be able to just put some other teams in a grind here. And, I thought this was a much better sort of game than you expected given the strength of these two teams, knowing that the defense was going to make it really hard for these two, and it still did. But again, that's where I think you credit just a lot of good player performances here, especially like we said, just looking at what Lanier did, how many big shots he hit. And I think sometimes it's like when you're Texas A&M, it's hard on every single possession to remember that if there's a single time where you just happen to try to go to the ball and you leave your man and you realize, my man was Chaz Lanier, that's never a good scenario, right? There was one in the second half there where I think there was some sort of rotation where I think it was Meshack that was in the bottom corner, and they threw a pass to Meshack, and whoever it was guarding Lanier just left to go over to say, oh, no, Meshack's wide open. And then as soon as the guy took a step, he realized, I'm leaving the wrong guy here. And then they throw it back to Lanier. He hits one from the top of the key. But I just think, again, that shows you when that guy gets going, I mean, he's a lot of fun to watch. This Tennessee team can be a lot of fun to watch, especially offensively. And I think that's what we said. Like, we brought up some of the road things, and that's one of the reasons I used to say I think this may be A&M here in terms of the advantage, because we looked at some of the road performances. Lanier had 10 at Kentucky. He had 10 at Auburn. He had 10 at Florida, 17 at Vanderbilt, which was not bad. He had a pretty good game there. And then even some of those other performances, right? You're looking up and saying, okay, even in a game they won at Texas, he had 10 points. And again, shooting on the road is different than shooting at home. We see that sometimes for guys, but man, to have this sort of breakout performance after this, tremendous stuff. And also, I'm going to bring this up from Fred. Yeah, I mean, Tennessee's chemistry is pretty outstanding with this particular group, as we said. We've seen that built throughout the year. The Milicic thing, I know you're going to bring up, Max. But, yeah, I mean, Zakai Zeigler, I keep saying it. The guy is just one of the most valuable players, not just in the SEC, but in the country, in terms of what he brings to this team. The big moments, he's always stepping up, making big plays, or creating it for others. And, this was a great, great road win for Tennessee.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, when It was that same possession. It was 2 fouls that didn't need to happen. Talking about Milicic, it was he was just battling with position with Andy Garcia, and then the next inbound 2 seconds after that gives Wade Taylor a little bump on the baseline, and he goes from 2 fouls to 4 fouls, and you're just like, whoa, that was like a 15-second span where that's gonna have a big impact the rest of the way here. But like you said, Tennessee, the guys step up when they need to step up. I thought down the stretch, because Wade Taylor, Zhuric Phelps, and they kind of just go those two mainly, where Tennessee goes Zeigler, Lanier, Meshack for the stretch down there, a little bit of Gainey. But I felt like the Tennessee guards, late game, half court offense, they were just so much more in control than Texas A&M was. And as good as Zhuric Phelps is, and this was not Wade Taylor's best game. This was probably actually one of the worst games of the season for him, going 0 of 9 from 3, and a lot of those late in the second half where they could have gotten a better shot. But Blake, I think the front court, Farrell Payne, Andy Garcia, Solo Washington, they had 14 offensive rebounds. I thought they did great. It was the A&M backcourt. I'm sitting here right now going, should have been better, or could have been better, needed to be better.
Yeah, no, it had to be better in this game, especially knowing what you got on the other side from Tennessee. And yeah, I mean, if you're just looking at some of the numbers, we can quickly run through these. I know people like us to do that sometimes. Yeah, I mean, A&M had 14 offensive rebounds, but 5 of 30 from 3. Tennessee goes 13 of 27 from 3. That was obviously a huge difference in this game when you just look at the number of misses, especially as you talked about Taylor going 0 of 9 from 3 in this game. That's not probably going to get it done in these kind of matchups against a team like Tennessee. And then, yeah, I mean, I think for Tennessee to be able to get some of the shots that they got, some of those were tough ones, as we said earlier, but to be able to actually run some good offense, get yourself in positions to where you're able to make shots on the road against a defensive team like this, I think, yeah, and I know people are bringing up the small ball lineup for Tennessee in the comments. Yeah, I mean, I think you're just seeing it. Like, whenever they're able to, and I talked about that a second ago, you're making the defenses work extra harder because you do have kind of that extra, all right, we know Meshack's not exactly, the best 3-point shooter on this team, but you still got to, you're not just going to completely leave him sometimes. And like I said, that's forcing the defense to make choices. If you have Zeigler, if you have Meshack, Lanier, and Gainey, like if you have all these guys sort of spread out and you're making defenses, respect everyone pretty much, I think, yeah, because the way Zeigler can drive, I think that's always kind of something that pops up and forces the defenses to really have to respect the way that Tennessee's going to play when Ziegler's able to get that penetration into the lane. So let's quickly get to a couple super chats real quick. Yeah. Zach is back. What's up, guys? Crazy game. Feel bad for A&M. Chaz goes off for the first time in forever in a game decided in the final minutes. That is tough. Yeah, I mean, Chaz Lanier was the difference. Yeah. No question about it today in that game with 30 points. Josh, 499, shout out to Josh here. Tennessee's 4-guard lineup with Okpara has to be one of the most efficient in the country. We'll have to see what Evan Mia thinks about that. We'll look up some of those lineup combinations. I bet that'd be an interesting one to certainly look at for sure. But all right, I'm going to go back to your comment earlier too, Josh. I know you said that you don't understand us talking about the road thing with Tennessee and not being able to play on the road. I don't think that was what we said, not being able to play on the road. I think it was more so if you're looking at it with Tennessee having, 4 road losses, A&M has been really good at home this season outside of the one game where they lost to Alabama by 6 without Wade Taylor. I think that was we probably did use some justification to not say Tennessee played bad on the road. I don't think we've ever said that. But I think it was more so the matchup in Texas A&M being at home. But look, I did point out that Lanier's, as most players sometimes, like the splits home and road are a little different. And so that's something else where if you're needing kind of that breakout offensive performance from Tennessee, it was probably one that was a little hard to envision against a defensive team like this. But as we just mentioned, really the difference outside of Lanier having that breakout performance was the fact that the percentages for A&M, we've been on that all year long about how if you're just looking at the offensive percentages, this feels like a team that's probably more so like 6-20 versus whatever they are now, 20-7. yeah, like it was just, I mean, just not being able to hit shots. That's sort of been the name of the game, hasn't it? So,
Yeah, at the same like as big as a win as it was for Tennessee, and you guys know that I like A&M, so I was going into this analysis thinking like, do not really try to stay head on straight here, not looking too optimistic for A&M. The thing is about Tennessee is winning that thing down the stretch without Milicic. I love that because you know how much we've been high on Igor. How many times we said I think this is a Milicic game. That guy just does a little bit of everything. But for A&M, besides the 3-point shooting, everything was there, right? It's the defensive rebounding, the offensive rebounding. They actually had a positive assist to turnover ratio. I was kind of surprised by that. But everyone stays out of foul trouble except for Solo. And the difference in the game, Tennessee shoots almost 50% from three. A&M shoots 16%. There's the game. One team made shots, the other team didn't. What I'm trying to get at here with this point is A&M, we're talking about what was it? The committee said they were the number 6 overall seed, right? And then they lose a little bit. So you're kind of reeling back on A&M. What I'm trying to say here is if they play that game again 5 more times, I bet that thing split right down the middle.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the way these two teams are. And again, I mean, I think that's even more of a credit to Tennessee for how they played in this game and able to win it the way they did. And I'm seeing if the KenPom numbers have been updated yet. But remember, we talked about it coming in. I mean, A&M was 299th in 3-point percentage, 266th in 2-point percentage. I think Josh pointed out in the comments, probably their best free throw shooting performance all year, if not close, since they were shooting 68% from the line coming into this, and they, like we said, go 18 of 20. And I mean, how many did they hit in a row, right? I mean, I think they had hit 17 in a row at one point after missing their first one or however it worked out. But yeah, that's not something you're going to get every time with A&M either. So I think that's definitely kind of what was an outlier for sure. But yeah, I'm curious too, just to kind of see with Tennessee, now they get a win like this, that's going to move them to 9-5 in the SEC, which A&M drops to 9-5. So Tennessee would have the tiebreaker over them at this point. Missouri sits at 8-4, which this makes tonight's game for Missouri now even more interesting because if you're Missouri in a 3-way tie situation with Tennessee and Texas A&M, you're the third of that group because you've already lost to both of those teams. However, if you win at Arkansas, then you're now in sole possession of that double bye spot, knowing also that Alabama is 10-3, Florida is 10-3. You've beaten both of those teams, Max. So, an LSU upset of Florida, a Kentucky win over Alabama, and all of a sudden, at the end of the day, guess where Missouri's sitting at? Now, that's a swing right there, right? Think about that. Like, win or lose, you're talking about 6 spots for Missouri, potentially, at the end of Saturday today.
I mean, that's a lot of this has got to happen. This has got to happen.
I know, but like, think about that. Like, that's where we are now. Like, we're down to the crunch time where we're looking at seeding and all that. But that shows you, like, this group of teams right here sort of jumbled together. All it takes is one upset win for somebody, one loss somewhere. Mm-hmm. You're moving around like a Missouri who could be anywhere on the board here between 2 and 7 by the end of tonight's games.
It's starting to really heat up. It's starting to heat up. For Tennessee, though, Tennessee looking forward, I like their setup to win out also. They got home against home against Alabama, home against South Carolina, with Ole Miss and LSU alternated there on the road. That would talking about a Tennessee team going into the SEC tournament, only losing 1 game in February.
Yeah. No, I mean, Tennessee's schedule, I think there are a lot of good win potential in there. I think we always talk about when Alabama plays in Knoxville, it seems like it's usually a struggle. I feel like that's kind of been a theme we've talked about over the years. So Alabama has to go there. Tennessee at LSU. Vols will be close to probably a double-digit favorite potentially in that game. And then, Ole Miss is an interesting one. I think another kind of matchup type game where you look at the way Ole Miss forces turnovers, takes care of the ball. Can they do that against this Tennessee team? And then South Carolina at home, which Tennessee will easily be a double-digit favorite in that one. So, but also with Tennessee's performance here offensively, they moved to the top 25 in offensive efficiency now in Ken Palm. Looks like it just updated. So the Vols, top 25 offense. Look out. Number 1 defense in the country, of course. But A&M's three-point percentage, by the way, said they were 299th coming into the game. They're 324th now. 30.6% after the 5 of 30 performance. So, but their free throw percentage increased. They're 285th now. So they only jumped up, I think, 20 spots, but still 285th. So, yeah.
Sorry, as you were talking, I got a text from a buddy of mine saying that Wisconsin blew a 16-point lead in the final minutes of the game and lost to Oregon. And the reason I bring that up is because now I'm trying to find the seeding on how that's going to affect the SEC, because I know Wisconsin was one of those teams flying up that was pushing some SEC teams down.
Yeah.
So a home loss now to Oregon, that makes room for one more at whatever seed line Wisconsin was just at.
All right, so Wisconsin had moved up to a 2, at least in Lenardi's latest bracket. I don't think he was the only one that had them there. So they had moved up to a 2, and that's where the team that had moved down was Texas A&M, which they're obviously not going to move up after this loss. But, that's where you're looking at the path for – and I know people don't understand the Kentucky thing still being a 3 in a lot of people's bracketologies, but we've just said, I think with Kentucky, it's quality wins. And I know what the record is, and it's quality wins plus committee factoring in injuries. And when you combine those things together, like Kentucky still has that working for them, but we're talking about Missouri potentially making a move up, right? The way they're playing, Missouri gets a win tonight. You're thinking they're probably moving up to a top 4 seed, something like that would be my guess. And then, like you said, if Wisconsin's a team that starts to move back down, you're probably looking at those teams, Kentucky, Missouri, as the ones that, if they win games, are going to benefit from a scenario like that potentially. So,
yep. James in here with $10 super chat. Appreciate it, James. Zeigler, up to the 3rd most valuable player in the country. Wow, on Evan Mia. One of the most underrated SEC players ever, in his opinion, given how opposing fans talk about him at times. Love the way he plays so much. Blake, you want to take a victory lap here?
Say that again. Sorry, my computer froze for a second. You cut out for 1 second.
Oh, did I cut out completely, or was it you?
No, it wasn't you. It was me. It was my computer cut out. So say that again.
James bringing up here that on Evan Mia, Zeigler's up to the 3rd most valuable player in the nation. And that he's arguably one of the most underrated SEC players of all time, given the narrative from opposing fan bases.
Well, I mean, listen, if he's the 3rd player in the nation, Max, does that still make him all SEC? I mean, in my opinion, I think it does. I'm not sure about you guys, but I think he's an all SEC candidate this year. What do you think?
If he's not on the first team, I don't know what you've been watching.
I think Mr. Zakai Zeigler will be getting first-team All-SEC recognition this year, without question. All right. Okay, let's see what else we've got here. As Richard said, we were talking about the seeding and stuff. Yeah, I mean, the injuries are going to be factored in. That's why Kentucky is still as high as they are, because they have a lot of great wins. They've had some losses, but they can use the injuries. At least, the committee always weighs them that way. So, you have to factor it in. You can't just sit here and act like, okay, they don't matter. They do matter. So, so I think that's why Kentucky's still there. They got a lot of great wins. And so, like we said, Missouri's moving up and all that. So, yeah, I mean, like we said, we're getting that split. And this is where, even for A&M losing a game like this, they're still fine because, they're not dropping down that much. You're not going to drop down for a home loss to a team like Tennessee who's so high, in the metrics and all that kind of stuff. So you're just not. So I don't think A&M would drop a seed line or anything like that losing this game because, like we said, that's their 2nd home loss of the season. And I think A&M's going to have an interesting opportunity for a strong finish here too. Home games against Vanderbilt and Auburn, at Florida, at LSU. So, listen, of that, at Florida, home against Auburn, can they get one of those? Obviously, if they can, that's going to be a significant boost because you would think they finished 3-1 in that scenario. But, LSU's been playing teams tougher at home, and so you can't necessarily count that one as a guaranteed win. Remember that first time those two teams played? I didn't think it was the most impressive performance for Texas A&M, even though they won 68-57. So, Aggies just need to look, if they win one of those games against Florida or Auburn and win the ones they're supposed to win, they're not dropping below a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament. So, but we'll see kind of what they get to from there. All right, let's see. We've already gotten to. Let's get to Josh's super chat from earlier. $4.99. We appreciate it, Josh. Missouri's schedule, they could finish second, and it may be likely at this point. Yeah, I mean, that's like we said. If Missouri wins tonight, which is a tough one at Arkansas, I think you're legitimately probably looking at a scenario where Missouri has a good chance to finish second, based on the fact that the other teams still have to play each other. Florida still has to play Alabama. Alabama still has to play Auburn. We talk about the other remaining schedules with A&M, all that. So, yeah, I think Missouri would be in a pretty good position, I think, if they were to win this game tonight. But, all right, everybody's high on Oklahoma right now. High on the Sooners, Max.
Everyone's chiming in. Sooners are up.
Answering the bell right now, up 5 on Mississippi State, about midway through the second half. So, maybe this is a day, Max, where all of our picks are just going to go the opposite way.
Wouldn't mind
that. A full Southeastern 16 kiss of death. What do you think about that?
Wouldn't mind some late February chaos. We had a program record broken for Mississippi State. Josh Hubbard has now made a 3 in 40 straight games.
Wow.
Breaks the Mississippi State record going back to 1995. Darrell Wilson.
Wow. Now that's a long stat right there. My goodness.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're going to see what happens here, like I said, because we mentioned Oklahoma just is not giving us a lot of confidence in picking them in any spot right now. But we mentioned the possibility of a game, kind of a team with their back against the wall, and knowing that this is kind of at a point where you just cannot afford any more losses. So far, Oklahoma, giving themselves an opportunity here. We'll see how it plays out, but I mean, this would be a big one for the Sooners, because even at 4-10, if they were to win this game, that they would be in the tournament if it was played today. So yeah, but they've got to finish this one though. Probably may not be easy against Mississippi State, but shout out to Richard jumping in, and also Richard jumping in, back-to-back Richards here.
Nice.
in the chat, shouting out the Vols for a big win today in College Station. And as we said, Tennessee moved up top 25 in offensive efficiency after that performance. A&M drops a spot in defensive efficiency to 6, so no shame in that. But I think we'll see moving forward. Like we said, A&M's got an interesting schedule. Tennessee's remaining schedule, we talked about it. Big home game against Alabama, road games at LSU, Ole Miss, and then of course against South Carolina at home too. So Vols still certainly playing for that number 1 seed. I mean, listen, if A&M wins out or something, they're also still in that contention, I would say, because you'd have wins over Florida and Auburn. But Tennessee takes a step forward towards trying to get that number 1 seed right now with the way they're playing. And you would think, Max, I guess as of today, the thought would be that Tennessee would still likely, I think, be in a position where they would be the number 5 overall seed, because it came out last weekend. They've won 2 games since then, Vanderbilt and then winning at Texas A&M. So still behind, the other teams of Auburn, Alabama, Florida, and Duke in some order, beyond Auburn, that is. But I think we'll find out how it goes. So Mark's comment. I knew as soon as I said that, Mark, that someone was going to put that in the chat, but we won't pull it up on the screen. I knew someone would do that, though. All right. Yeah. Shout out to Coach Rice. Long time here at the channel.
Yes.
One of our longest running members, dating back probably 4 years. Shout out to Coach Rice here, $9.99 on the Super Chat. Tennessee has now won 42 straight games when they reach 69 points before their opponent. Nice.
How do you even find that stat?
That's a wild stat, though, isn't it? Whoever's doing those stats, they need to be paid more, because I love that kind of stat.
How do you even find that?
Yeah, for sure. So that is a wild one. Shout out to Carlos here. Thank you for picking Texas A&M. Played 8 on 5 in the second half, still won. Again, Carlos, I think a lot of people, we've talked about this before. I don't remember the last time we had the chat come in and say, you know what, guys, I want to talk about the game. But first, I want to applaud the officials on a great 40 minutes. I don't think we've ever had that here in SEC basketball, Max, unless you can remember a time. I don't. So
I'll say for a game like this, I thought they did a good job.
I did too. I thought it was better than usual, to be honest with you. I thought it was a better overall performance, but again, not everyone will agree with that. But we watch a lot of games.
Pretty low. The standard is pretty low.
We watch a lot of games. Josh with a 199 super chat. Is the Bama versus Tennessee game for the final number 1 seed? Could be at that point.
Wow.
Because again, that is that's next Saturday. Alabama's remaining schedule. We've said it, guys. You know, I mean, Bama's just got a brutal schedule left, right? Because who else is playing the stretch from March 1st to March 8th of at Tennessee, home against Florida, at Auburn? So, I mean, Bama could very well be the underdog in all 3 of those games. They're likely going to be underdog in the 2 road games. The Florida game, we'll see. But Big Baller Brett. Oh, boy. I see we've gotten positive Big Baller Brett here jumping in today. So, there you go. But, all right. Let's see. Okay, so Coach Rice, 199 here on the Super Chat. Jordan Moore. Okay, that's who it was. Should have known. The wizard, the stat wizard. So, but anyways. All right. What else we got to get to? We are going to hop off here in a few, guys. We're just going to kind of focus in on this game. We'll clean up the Oklahoma-Mississippi State game tonight in prime time. So the schedule for the day, while you guys are in here, we are going to just do this one for now. Usually we have a watch along in the afternoons. Not doing that today. Schedules just didn't work out. So we're going to go live after Alabama, Kentucky, which will be a 5 p.m. Central tip. So we won't be going live after Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, Auburn, Georgia. We won't be going live after those games. We're going to wait, talk about those, on probably that 5 o'clock stream or the 7 o'clock Central streams, what it'll most likely be. Alabama, Kentucky after that one. Then we'll have prime time tonight after Missouri and Arkansas. So that is your schedule. Set your notifications on your phone. Put a reminder in. These guys are going live about probably 7 p.m. Central-ish, depending on how long that Alabama-Kentucky game lasts. And then probably around 9:15-ish Central-ish. So there you go. That's kind of our plan for the day. So turn on those notifications so you don't miss it.
All right, Blake, here's a pop quiz that you won't have a chance at getting right, but I just want to see what your guess is.
Of course.
Zakai Zeigler's assist rate last year was 33.9%. That was 29th in the nation. What do you think it is this year? Or what do you think he's ranked in the nation?
All right, so give me the percentage from last year again.
33.9, and that ranked 29th.
33.9, ranked 29th.
Yeah.
And
last year,
30.
DK.
Yeah. 39.3.
Close. 41 flat.
Wow.
He has 6th in the nation in assist rate. And you would think he had less than last year with how much of a facilitator he was. Nope, it's more. That's how good he's been.
Wow. He's good. He is good for sure. Sam says he could really use a Diet Summit Cola about now. So Sam, are you no longer Sam? I'm not seeing the green name. Have you let your membership lapse on the? It just means more tier. Oh, that's it, Sam. No more comments for you. Yep. I don't care how many Missouri wins by tonight. No more comments. But in all seriousness, Richard, we'll finish up on this one, and then we'll let you guys watch the rest of this Mississippi State-Oklahoma game, and then again some fun games coming this afternoon. That Vanderbilt Ole Miss game, that's the one we said we're the most intrigued by. That one maybe on today's slate. Big one there for the Commodores. All right, Richard said doesn't want to panic the SEC membership here, but there's a remote possibility where only 9 or 10 teams get in after thinking it could be 13. I don't think it's only going to be 9 or 10. I think you're going to get at least 2 of those bubble teams in. So I think 11 might be the least amount. Again, I'm trending more towards 11. I just think it's 11 or 12 because I don't see a path right now for Oklahoma. And I say that knowing that they may beat Mississippi State here. I just feel like Oklahoma and Georgia have a really tough path to get in still. Maybe they get in, right? Maybe Oklahoma makes a run here. I don't know. But I think at least 2 of those bubble teams are getting in, whether that's Vanderbilt and Arkansas, Vanderbilt, Texas, Arkansas, Texas, again, whatever combination. I think it's going to be 11 or 12. If it's 9 or 10, something's gone horribly wrong because that means that Vanderbilt and Texas and all those teams are just losing out, and I just feel like they're going to win some games somewhere. So that's kind of what we're thinking. So
should we pick a bracket tonight? I feel like we should pick a bracket.
You know what? I was going to tell you. We've got new brackets. We might go to Rocco's newest bracket. We got a new Lenardi bracket. We got all kinds of stuff we can work with. So we might dedicate some time for the second of the week, the second time this week that Max Barr and I are going to do gut bracket. Yep. We might do it tonight. So who are we going to crown tonight? Max crowned Houston earlier in the week. I crowned Auburn. We both might have different national champions after tonight. So
it's going to change every time.
For sure. So, all right. We're out of here, guys. First stream in the books for the day. As we said, we'll be back probably whatever time that is, right after Alabama, Kentucky. As soon as that one goes final, probably around 7-ish Central Time, we'll be back for that one. Be back for prime time after that. We'll touch on all the games from today: Mississippi State, Oklahoma, Auburn, Georgia, Florida, LSU, Vanderbilt, Ole Miss, and so forth. We'll get to all those a little bit later. And there's your tease. Max and I have decided we're going to make it. We are going to pick another gut bracket tonight on the primetime show. So
before we get out of here, Blake, I don't want to miss it. Zach just got in with a super chat. He says Texas, and I think he's talking about bubble teams getting in. Texas and Vandy most likely. Arky maybe Oklahoma, but he thinks Georgia is done. That's a best case scenario. Maybe getting 2, maybe 3.
I'm starting to think Texas is getting pretty close to getting out of that category. Now, I just said that sentence, and you know what's going to happen tonight. They're going to go lose at South Carolina, and all of a sudden, we have to now put Texas back into that jumbled mess of teams. But if they win tonight, I think that they are moving closer and closer to getting out of there. But I don't think it's going to be easy. Not going to be easy. Max picked the upset. We'll see.
There you go. Have fun.
No, you were 100% serious.
All right.
Just they could. Listen, if you wouldn't have picked it, I may not have. But
if they win, I'll come on later and act like I was 100% confident and knew it all the way.
Oh yeah, you were confident in the 0-13 team. All right, there you go, guys. We appreciate you as always. Turn on the notifications. Quickly though, we got to tell you about our friends at BracketBids. If I would have had the copy ready, it would be a much better, seamless transition into this read. But instead, you can have a seamless transition into your bracket in March with our friends at BracketBids. Enter into that free pick'em contest or start an auction draft league. We keep telling you we're going to start one of those. Friends, family, or coworkers. Play there. Have fun in the auction draft league. It'll be great stuff. Everyone starts with the same bidding dollars. Up to you to outwit and outbid your league mates. Secure the teams you think go the distance. Choose from multiple scoring models, including the upset bonuses to reward the bold picks. Track your teams with live in-game scoring. Watch the standing shift in real time. The further your teams advance, the higher you climb in the standings. That's how it works. For league play, use the promo code SC16 for 40% off. SC16 for 40% off. Download the BracketBids app today or visit them at bracketbids.com. Sanders moving. We will get to on the next stream. There's your teaser for the 7 o'clock stream. So, all right, guys, we appreciate you watching as always. Turn on those notifications. We'll be live after Alabama, Kentucky. We'll talk to you then. Thanks as always, and we'll talk to you soon. Southeastern 16.